Oh, it's a lot. Lots has happened. But I guess what we're going to focus on is love, no? That's what we do here, usually. It's like therapy. It's like therapy sessions. I guess we're going to skip all the life parts which happened beside that topic. And I don't really want to even go back in time to those stories, but the last time I spoke to you was about some mess going on in my romantic life, like there were two choices and I didn't know what to choose. And it's such a classic, typical story, you know, that you have two choices and you think which, basically they're both bad. Why would you have to choose, you know? But you know, I guess it comes with time. So it was a terrible story. Maybe I say a bit about it because, yeah, it maybe shaped me as well. But so I had this long, difficult relationship which wouldn't really work, but somehow it kept me, you know, attached. And then a new person arrived, but I guess he wouldn't really make me leave the previous. So that was the big puzzle, the big mess. And later on, I got back to the old person, the first, and it was just terrible because it's too much of details. But since I was hesitating and had two boys at once, and neither of them like it, of course, so basically then I had to pay a price of being ashamed of that, even though at first I wasn't. So awful, terrible, romantic, not really romantic, heartbreaking stories, which right now I don't think much about. It's just I didn't see you for all this time, so now I remember that that's what I was doing back then, which like, I don't know, it sounds silly, but it just surprises me. What was I thinking? Really? Like, really? I don't recognize myself there. So that lasted for a while, of course, with bad results, you know, from all the directions. That kind of kicked me in my stomach, and I'm happy about that as well. And later on, other disappointment, which also not, to be honest, important to mention for me. I don't know, I thought it's huge lost, but I don't think that anymore. And then what I wanted to tell you, because we were talking, but you wanted to do it on a camera, which makes me a bit nervous. I think I found somebody. And the funny thing is that I don't talk about it much because it's mine. Like when I had those doubts and all those hesitations and misunderstandings and heartbreaks, of course I would talk about it all the time and bore some people and maybe get advices from other people and basically also use it as a topic for conversation, because that's what we do with relationships, no? And now it's different because I have a feeling that there's something special happening in my life, and maybe it's a bit mean. I don't really want to share it. Like people ask me, and I would say the story. It's a very lovely romantic story. I can tell it briefly because I think you're going to enjoy it. When it comes to the story part, it's a lovely story. I have no problem sharing it. But when it comes to the a real relationship juice stuff, I don't talk about it because it's just I am in it. You know, it's like I don't even see it from the outside, since it's all in me. Then there's no distance to take a look and talk. And basically, I guess there's also no issue. I think you mainly talk when you try to make your thought, your thinking clear about the person. And when it's clear, what's there to talk, you know? Sometimes I gossip about him when he annoys me, like, oh, he didn't clean again. This I can talk. Like, oh, again, made me tired again. But, you know, that's just life details. But about the big picture, no. But I tell you briefly the story of how we met, because I think, I don't know, I think it may give hope to people. It's like a bit of a fairy tale story, which we all need, yeah, in life. So after lots of disappointments, lots, I was finally getting to a point like, yeah, whatever, you know, like losing hope a bit, even trying to date online, going for extremely dull dates and thinking, maybe he likes me, but I don't really care because I don't like him. But, you know, like maybe I settled for something boring, but then I couldn't really. It's like dull. And in between doing my art, doing my life. And at some point, it was in the winter, I got a bit tired of the city and thought maybe it's good to drag my ass out of Warsaw, do something different because I'm really getting into my tower, not leaving. And there was this interesting thing, there was an open call for artists for Marina Abramović show, which I found appealing because she always had this spiritual impact on me. So I thought, oh, maybe that's the reason to go out, good enough reason to move myself from my little tower. And I applied and I went to this little town called Toruń. It's where Copernicus was born. That's what it's famous of. Tiny Renaissance town, very pretty, picturesque. And that's where they had audition for artists who would like to take part in her exhibition, which later on started in Toruń. And I thought, you know, I'm perfect. I'm just like Marina. I adore her. I'm an artist. It's winter. I don't really have anything better to do. I'm perfectly free to work with her because, you know, I don't have a stable job. I don't have family. I don't even have a boyfriend. Perfect. So I went there and I booked a little Airbnb, lovely apartment in Old Town because the auditioning was supposed to take 2 days. And I thought, you know, I spend the night, I go out, I enjoy the city, I meet all the people, I get to know the project, like that. And I came for the first audition, and I was just supposed to stand in front of the wall and then make a few steps. And then they were supposed to call us later, saying what time shall we appear, you know, at the museum next day. So I start hanging around the city, waiting for the call doesn't arrive. I was hanging out with a girl who was renting an apartment to me, and you know, we had a nice chat. She was a very lovely person. Actually, she decided to stay for the night in the city. She was about to go to her parents, but she decided to stay. She found out I'm an artist, so she got interested. It was very nice. She was accommodating me there. And I get an email, and it says, we tried to reach you on a phone. Never happened. I was very upset about that. Sorry, you're not good for the part. I'm like, what? I booked a hotel. I dragged my ass here. How? I just stood there in 5 minutes. You know, that's all I did, and I'm not good for the part. It was like not nice feeling. So, and I said it to the girls we were hanging out with, and they're like, oh, and they're like, don't worry about it, it's bullshit. Drink a beer with us, let's have a fun night out. And I'm like, girls, but you know, I'm tired. But they saw I'm a bit upset, so I think they wanted to accommodate me. And we started going from one bar to another. And I have to admit, it was a completely different crowd than in Warsaw. Everybody knew everybody. It was laid back, very cozy. And on the end, we went to, in my opinion, the most dodgy bar on the planet. Like, I would never enter it. And we end up talking somewhere in the back with where you could smoke. It's full of this foggy smoke, awful. I couldn't breathe, and I never smoke. I hate that. But, you know, I end up having a nice conversation with them, and all of a sudden I realized, where's my bag? And I put it in the front. So I ran to my bag thinking, oh my God, you know, I'm in the bar, it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. What if somebody stole my bag? And that's when I ran into my boyfriend, which is like, yeah, I met him in the most dodgy bar on the planet. I mean, I was looking for my bag, and he approached me and he asked, like I don't know, he asked me, girl, what are you doing here? In this sweet way, like like he called me in this way, like it implied that I'm a little girl. Little girl, what are you doing in such a dodgy bar? And I'm looking for my bag, and he asked me, what's your name? And I said, Malgosia. And he's like, oh, my mother is Malgosia. I was like, okay. And then we started, I don't know, then we start to talk. Then his friend pushed us to dance, and I think we danced. Then he asked me if he can buy me a drink if I'm old enough to drink, which I was like, thank you, because I just got rejected from this show, and I felt so old. All of those people trying were much younger, so it made me feel good. And he later said that he thought I'm 22, and then my father called, and I was like, ee! And it's like, I was sure you're just a youngster. And he was thinking in his head whether he should get involved because, you know, she's too young for me. And I was looking at him thinking, what is this young boy? He was just a boy. What does this boy want from me, you know? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell him my age because he's so young and yummy and pretty and, you know, just so fresh. And we were dancing. And then his friend also wanted to he wanted to talk to me. It was clear he wants to flirt with me. But Cayetan was taking over, and his friend was getting upset and like nervous. And I don't know, he says that I kissed him. I think he kissed me, so the story is blurry. But I found myself sitting on his lap in this dodgy bar, like in the middle of the night. And the last thing I remember, then from the bar, is that his friend got terribly upset and just left. He saw us kissing and was like, I'm leaving. And he left, so we ended up hanging around, walking through town. I said, I really want French fries. So he did everything to get me French fries. And that was it. And then we just would see each other ever since. And it was nice because the next day I left. And I remember we hang out the whole day long. He spent the night, but I said, I'm putting on my PJs, don't even think about anything. Like, I was like, I'm gonna behave. I just, I wanna spend time with you. I just don't wanna leave you. I say, okay, I need to sleep. And he always laughs about that because he would talk all the time, and I was so tired, with the drinks and with the auditioning. And at some point I said, how about we try to be silent right now? How about we try to take a little nap? Can you do that? So he always laughs that, I was kind of, yeah. And then on the end of Sunday, it was like this weekend thing. And then on Sunday, it's winter, this Polish winter. He walked me to the taxi. I took the taxi to the station. And before that, I asked him, would you like to have my phone number? And he said, what for? I'm like, okay, it's not an obligation. It was lovely to meet you. I said, no, I was just joking. So I gave him my phone number, and I thought, and that it's polite to write from the train. It was a lovely weekend with you. Thank you so much. And he thought that, that's it for me. That, thank you so much. And it happened in a sweet way that my girlfriend irritated me so badly the next day that I called my stepmother. I called my other girlfriend, but nobody could talk to her, and I was so irritated. And nobody could, they had no time. And then I ended up calling him and saying, I have to tell you the story. This girl, she's just irritated me so badly. And he's like, oh, it's so good to hear from you. I thought I'd never see you again. And that's how we ended up talking. And I guess that was like 4 hours. Then I said, I'm going to take a shower. And then we end up talking another 4 hours. So I guess we stopped around 4 a.m. or something. And then he would call me every day. And 3 days later, because, it's in a different city, he said, how about we meet for the weekend? And I was like, yeah. I knew he's going to ask that. But yeah, sure. And that's when he came for the weekend. And then he would come every single weekend, starting from Friday evening, and would leave on Monday morning, early morning, 5 a.m. So he would be at work at 8. later on, I thought he's gonna really die because he wouldn't sleep much, and all the weekends very. So he got really tired, and then in between, I was thinking, well, he can't go like that forever because he's just gonna collapse. He has full-time job, and then every week he drives 3 hours or more because there is traffic. Friday night, the worst traffic. Then leaving very early in the morning to be there at the. And so I thought we can't last like that much longer because it's just not the way to live. So he dropped his job and he moved in with me and got another job, and we lived together. And I never really lived with anybody, so it's new to me. We just live together and we are in love. That's the story.